Okay, so today I'd just like to welcome everyone here as we honor Mr. Ron Burr induction into the Team Horner Hall of Fame. It's a very special time, not only for him, I'm sure, and his family, but also for us to be able to honor him in this way. And I'd just like to thank all of you for coming out and sharing this with us. So the criteria to qualify for the Hall of Fame is that it models a lot along the lines of what our Employee of the Year criteria is. And that some of the tenets for that are they must have a positive mental attitude. They must have come out of their comfort zone to sacrifice for the team and made a significant contribution to the team beyond their job responsibilities. They have to be an example of an ideal team player. They must have been an Employee of the Year award winner, President's Club winner, or other special recognition award. And they must have retired in good standing and be functioning in a reduced scheduled role from their normal duties. As a special benefit of being a part of the President's Club, all Team Horner Hall of Fame inductees, that includes active employee in reduced role, retired or deceased, will be eligible to have their children and grandchildren participate in the Dr. Bill Kent Scholarship Program of Team Horner following the normal guidelines associated with the program. So with that, I'd like to say congratulations to Ron. I think I started maybe about a year after Ron and Gary had started. I think you guys started in 78, right? Something like that. And I'd started in the summer of 79. And of course, they were there, and they were always mentors for me working in the warehouse. We were working unloading trucks, and Ron was in purchasing, and Gary at that time was in the export department. And I remember Ron actually gave me the first duties I ever had to do where I sat at a desk, and I thought that was the most awesome thing in the world because I was working in the warehouse unloading trucks, and so at one point, what he used to do is he used to write up the purchase orders, but he only gave me the ones for like JB Plastic, like 1.5" 90, 1.5" T. I guess he thought maybe I couldn't get those wrong. But anyways, he would give me those because they were long purchase orders, and he'd say, here, call these in. And so I'd come in the air conditioning for about 10 minutes or so, and I'd have my little stack of purchase orders, and I'd call them into the vendor and whatnot. And so it was a lot of fun and a great memory, and we really had a great time. At that point, we didn't realize what we had in this company and what it would become. But also, one of the great things about what we're doing here today is that we're setting a legacy for those that come after us, so that those that I would just say set the groundwork and the foundation for the success of the company, that their contributions will never be forgotten. So congratulations to you, Ron. And with that, I'll turn it over to Dr. Bill Kent.
Well, first let me recognize that this was Mike Dooley's idea to create this Hall of Fame, and I want to thank him for that because it is a special event. Let me ask you a question. I always have to start with a quiz. In what year was Ron Burr the Employee of the Year? Who knows? Other than you. Who else knows what year? All right, tell them what year, Ron. 1986. 36 years ago. A lot of water has gone over the dam since 1986. You might be interested in knowing that the year before was Skip Gregg's, and the year after was our own Mr. Gary Chisling. So 18 years of orange and blue. That's how I would describe in one line Ron's career with us. He's just a great example of professional growth in the company. Because like all of us, I was in the warehouse in 1972 myself. So like all of us, we all started there because that's really how the business grew over the decades. And so he was in purchasing for 15 years out of his 18 years. So I think that our DUI levels were really excellent back then. That's days of unsold inventory. That's what we call it now. It used to be called inventory turns, but we modernized it mostly because of Louis Preziosi. So Ron is a great family man. It's really great to have Justin here and Tiffany and Lauren and Tyler. He's a very strong Christian, and that fits with the moral values of Team Horner. His story at one of the earlier Hall of Fame ceremonies about the wolf sandwiches was something that I had not heard before, so I thought that was great. And maybe you can tell him what a wolf sandwich is when you're up here. Personally, I'm most grateful for all of the service that he gave us during his time here. And I asked him this morning, what was his best memory? And he said, and it's one of mine as well, it's definitely in my top 5. It was the weekend that we moved the warehouse and office from the 810 building over here to 5755. He said, I'll never forget that because we worked day and night the entire weekend. And what made it special for me is that when I got home on Sunday night, after the move was complete, I got a call from the fire department. And they said, your building is on fire. So my heart stopped. I was having dinner, my eating stopped. I just got in the car, came up here, and praise the Lord, it wasn't the 5755 building. There was a fire between the 810 and the 820 buildings. So like you, that's an unforgettable experience. So anyway, Ron, thank you for all that you've done for us through the decades. Please come up and tell us what your thoughts. You go first. Yeah. So if you exaggerate anything, the members of the audience can come up here and correct you.
I never exaggerate. I just want to say thank you to everybody that's here today. It means a lot. My family, Lauren and Tyler, my daughter Lauren, my son-in-law Tyler, my son Justin, my business partner, and his wife Tiffany, who is carrying our first grandchild here end of May. Little Charlie. We knew it was a boy from the early sonogram because we saw that he was holding an AB 905 wall brush, so we knew that it was a boy, and we were excited about that. And then my wonderful wife of 44 years this year, and she has been beside me the whole time and encouraged me and our family, and I couldn't have done it. In 1978, I graduated from Florida Atlantic University with a Bachelor of Fine Arts degree in music education. I was going to teach high school band, and that didn't happen, thank goodness. Earlier that year, I had gone to my soon-to-be father-in-law, and I wanted to ask for permission to marry his daughter. And he said, well, I only have 2 requirements. One of them is that you know this is forever. And I said, yes, sir, I know that. He said, the other one was that you have to have a job. And I didn't have a job. I didn't know what to do because I was graduating and knew I wasn't going to teach high school band, and I didn't know what to do. So I looked for a job. I actually got a job as a trainee in a bank. And I was all ready to go work in a bank. And I called them right before I was to go in for the job, and I said, hey, I'm getting married in November, and I need a week off for a honeymoon. They said, no, I'm sorry, we can't do that. And I said, well, I'm sorry, I can't work for you. And so I never ended up at the bank. It would have been a whole different career path for me, but I never ended up at the bank. So I had to go home, and at that time, we flipped through the want ads in the Sun Sentinel, and of course, right in there was this small little ad, 3 lines, I think. growing swimming pool supply house needs counter help. Apply at 810 Northwest 57th Court. I said, well, I know how to swim. That's a good thing. I could be a counter guy. I don't know anything about pools. So I said, well, I'm going to go and apply for the job. So I went up to the 810 building. I walked in and walked past the counter. There was 2 guys there. I said, well, I'm not sure why they need counter help. But I said, hey, I'm here to apply for the job. They said, go through that door and ask for Mr. Kent. I said, okay, that's what I'll do. So I walked into this little office. It was about 20 by 20. I think there was 3 or 4 people in there. Dan Lockwood was in there. And the thing that hit me the most is I looked down on the ground and you couldn't see the carpet. It was just full of sand. It was like it had never been cleaned. I mean, I thought, wow, what is this kind of place? But I sat down in front of Bill and he interviewed me. And he said, I'll let you know. A couple days later, he called and said, hey, I'd like you to come in and start. And on August 1st, 1978, I started. And there was no counter job, by the way, Bill. Thanks very much. I really appreciate that. We all started in the warehouse, and it was a good thing. I was trained by a really good trainer, Tom Nolan. A lot of you remember Tom. And he was a great trainer. He really was specific, and he said, you can either do this right, because if you don't, you will enjoy the wrath of our dispatcher, Dave Schock, and he will come down and hurt you. So you want to pull the orders correctly. So he was very clear about that. But he trained us well. So I stayed in the warehouse for quite a while, and then I ended up in purchasing. I helped Dan for a while, learning how to count. I think once Dan found out I could count above 100, that he let me do a little bit more. And so that was a great time for me. And then when Dan decided to do something different, I was asked if I wanted to be the purchasing agent. I said, I guess. I don't know anything about it, but sure, why not? And I can still remember to this day the first large special order I ever placed. And back then you had to call everything in. There was no email, no fax, none of that. So the first big order I placed was a Teledyne Lars commercial pool heater. Large order. And I can remember that I called that order in, and they must have thought I was the biggest clown on the other end, because I had no idea what I was doing. But you know what? I made it through it, and it was just a special time. But you know, one of the things that I always enjoyed was this. As I was at the company, I always had the chance to watch Bill as he grew the company. You know, back in '78, we were a small company. There were other distributors around the area that were much bigger, probably had more products. They didn't have the people, and they didn't have the customer service. And that was something that Bill impressed upon each one of us, and also Bob LaCara. He impressed upon us that you have to have customer service. Whatever the customer wants, you just do it. If they need something, and we didn't have it, we went and found it. That was the thing that I remember about Bill. You know, I remembered as he grew the company, he brought in a lot of great stuff. Portable spas, we started bringing those in. We actually set up a spa showroom in the building behind the 810 building where dealers could bring in customers and show customers spa shells right there in the building. That was kind of a unique thing that we did. And then with the help of Paul Fulmer and Bill, Drake heat pumps. You know, if it wasn't for Drake heat pumps and Paul Fulmer, we wouldn't be selling a lot of heat pumps that we're selling today, because they were really the ground runners of that product. It went from Drake heat pumps to Florida heat pumps and then to AquaCal, and of course we all know about AquaCal. Bill also saw a great thing. In Australia, they had this thing called a salt generator. Salt generator, it made chlorine. Well, Bill got the idea he was going to go up to Michigan to Diamond Shamrock, and that's when he bought Lectrinator Chlorinator, and then he moved it down here, and that's what became Autopilot. That was great vision for the company. It was great vision for the industry, but Bill had that vision. He purchased the building for the ground for $57.55. He built that building on his own with Steve Roberts and Paul Fulmer. They put that building up. We watched it go up, and then that weekend that we spent here putting that building together, I think Gary and I don't think we slept at all that weekend. It was a wild weekend, but it's a weekend I'll never forget. We had customers here helping. I'll never forget that. We brought in Sun Chemicals. That was the big first chemical lines that we brought in. Sun Chemicals. We brought in that full line. We were major distributors of a chemical line for basically the first time. And then that led into the Tropiclear line of chemicals. I'll get into that in just a second. Bill went out to Discus. He saw the international need for the pool equipment. He went out to California, Palo Alto, and bought Discus and brought it here for Horner International. What vision was that? Goodness sakes. He saw the vision and the need for that. I think one of the biggest things is that Horner became the leader in the development of exposed aggregate finishes through Paul Fulmer. If it wasn't through Paul Fulmer and Florida Stucco and Southern Grouts and Mortars, guys, we'd all still be putting Marcite on the pools. But through them, they developed a product, and it became the go-to product. And it was really through Horner that product really took off to where it is today, to where it is to that's all we use anymore is exposed aggregate finishes. You know, there's some of the other lesser known products that Bill brought in, a vision. Bill, you brought in a product called pipe drain PVC Punisher. Thanks, Bill, I really appreciate that. That was a wonderful thing you brought in, thanks. We probably still have pieces laying around somewhere. Pool-made in-wall cleaning system, that one big pipe that went in the pool and the whips came out, yeah, that was a really good deal. Back in the early or late 70s, in the late 70s, we actually put together pump skids, pumps and filters, and put them all together. We'd ship them out to the customers. I think Gary and I probably made a bunch of those. Well, probably not Gary. He didn't like to get his hands dirty, but that's okay. FAFCO Solar Systems, we were a leader in that. Mike, Horner Institute, you were Horner Solar Sales, you were up on the roofs there, climbing around, drilling holes in roofs. Good for you. Better you than me. Leak Seeker, that was another one of Paul Fulmer's big things. He developed that product where we could find leaks underwater with a microphone. Bill, there was another one that you brought in, outdoor carpeting for decks. Do you remember that one? That was another bomb. Thanks a lot. You know, we didn't do too well. I don't think we ordered any of that. I don't remember ordering any outdoor carpet. We also had a couple different manufacturers of vinyl liner pools. We tried those for a while. Questa pool cleaners, that was a great thing. They worked pretty good, not too bad. But then there was the Liberator pool cleaner. Oh, the Liberator pool cleaner looked like a little airboat underwater. And it had a propeller in the back of it that through the suction hose, it made the propeller spin. And it would propel the little underwater cleaner to pick up all the dirt in the pool. And you know what? Those cleaners worked well for about 10 minutes. And then it became a boat anchor. There was a bunch of those, and I'm sure there's still a bunch of those in the landfill. But, you know, and there's a lot of other acquisitions that you've done after I left the company, and I'm not even going to go there. But there was one thing that you brought in, Bill, and I just have to ask you right up front, what were you thinking? Well, I happen to have that one item here today. And it was known as the rubber neck tie. And we brought in, boy, is that thing hideous. We brought in 4 different ones of these, and we were supposed to sell them. And I have no idea why or what we were trying to do, but I'm sure that Dan Lockwood, his sales, he probably had fun trying to sell these. These were really good. There was 4 different ones. But, you know, and this has really bothered me, Bill, why you would bring these in, because I never really understood it. But then I thought, well, you went on a lot of executive power lunches back then. And I figured you were probably a sloppy eater, and you could spill stuff on your tie. You could take this right in the restroom, hose it off, and then go on to your next appointment. So I'm thinking that's probably the behind the story of the rubber neck tie. This one is yours. Somehow we got it out of your closet. So I would suggest that this goes under a frame and a glass and goes in the hallway up next to the Hall of Fame pictures, and with a little logo down, what was I thinking? But you can think about that. You know, and as I was thinking through this and all the things that I experienced here at Horner, reminds me of a story in the Old Testament of the Bible. And I'm not going to get preachy on you here, but there's a story in the Old Testament of the Bible in the book of Jeremiah. And it talks about a potter, and it talks about his clay. And that really relates to my time here at Horner. And it relates to each one of us in all that we do whether you work here at Horner Equipment or Team Horner, or whether you work outside this company. You see, during my time here at Horner, as I was a purchasing agent for a lot of that time, I was really a purchasing agent for myself for a long time. I had no help. And then I had a couple of assistants come in, Ron Fisher and Don Smith. They were great. They really helped out. So I did spend about 15 years in purchasing. It was a special time for me. I want to thank you for all the nights I stood up pricing out the inventory at home, and I'm still going to send you a bill for that, but it was a great time. But as I started to break away from purchasing, you know, one of the biggest things that I can remember was being able to help set up the Tropiclear line of chemicals. That was a real big deal for me, because we actually took a line of chemicals from nothing and grew it into a full line of chemicals and ancillary items. We had our own EPA number. We worked with an attorney, Ed Lyle, in Washington, D.C., and got our own EPA number for the tablets. We bagged stuff over here in the building to my left. We carted stuff for retail stores with Tropiclear on it. That was a lot of fun for me, and that was a great experience. I had the privilege of calling on a few customers every now and then. Nino Tosi, Roger D. Don, called on you guys every now and then. It was a good time. And I got my feet wet in sales, and it was a fun time for me. As I neared my end at Horner, I became vice president of Autopilot for the last couple of years. And that was a great experience for me because I didn't know anything about manufacturing. I was in way over my head, but I worked with a great crew there, a great team, and we all worked together and we did the best we could for the early days of Autopilot. It was a great time. You know, after I left Horner, I began my own business with small vending machines. I had decided in 1996 that it was time for me to maybe do something different. And so I decided that I was going to get into the small vending machine business. I was going to sell Tic Tacs and BG gum. Why wouldn't restaurants want to put these in their buildings? Well, they didn't. And the ones that did go in, I found them in the back rooms all vandalized, and it didn't work out. So I ended up selling all those machines and went through the School of Hard Knocks. And if you've ever been to that school, those classes are really, really expensive. And I found that out. But I also found out that I really wasn't ready to be an owner. Wasn't ready. Even though Bill had taught me a lot, and I had learned a lot from Bill during my time here, I wasn't really ready. So I ended up back in the pool business. I worked for a small pool service company. I worked for a large commercial pool builder. And then I was branch manager for a tile supply house for several years. And it was at that time that my son Justin was working for me there at the tile supply house, and I said, hey, what do you want to do? He was graduating high school. He said, I'd like to have my own business. I said, okay, let's do it. What do you want to do? He says, I don't know, let's build pools. I said, okay, let's do it. And it was at that time that we met Bob Benix. Well, I knew Bob, but Bob had come into the tile supply house, and we got to talking, and we worked with Bob for about 7 years, and he taught us the ropes of what to do and what not to do. And I appreciate him and all his help in those early years. About 13 years ago, I was nominated by the Broward County League of Cities to serve on the Broward County Board of Rules and Appeals. Jim DiPietro is here. He's the director of the board. I served 2 terms as chairman of the board, and it was a great learning experience. Here I am, a pool guy amongst engineers and architects and contractors, learning the ropes. But it's been a great experience for me to be on that board. I'm still on the board. If you don't know what the Board of Rules and Appeals does, we're a quasi-judicial board that hears complaints from homeowners and contractors against building departments. We actually hear the complaints and we rule and we make a decision. We also write Broward County Chapter 1, which is an addition to the Florida Building Code. So it's a great board that I'm privileged to be on, and really counted a privilege that I'm there. In 2014, I was ordained as an associate pastor at Calvary Chapel Cornerstone Church. Our senior pastor, Pastor Ken Kerrigan's here. I have the great pleasure of working alongside him. He's been a great mentor for me, and it means a lot to be able to be called a pastor at his church. Also had the opportunity to serve. Our church has a radio station, and so I have the opportunity to be on the radio station every now and then, live broadcast, and learn how FM radio stations work, and that's been a big learning process for me. So how do I relate that to the potter and the clay? Well, let me explain. You see, the potter back in the Bible times didn't go down to Hobby Lobby to pick up a bucket of clay. He had to find it in the ground first. He had to dig it out of the ground. Then he had to put this clay material in a brine solution for about 2 months. Let it soak. Get all the impurities out of it. After that period of time, he would take that material out and he'd put it on a wood table and he would beat it with a hammer or a wooden mallet to get all the impurities out, all the lumps. And then he'd soak it again. There was a lot of preparation for that clay to be used before the potter could make something out of it. And you see, that's just like each one of us here today. Whether it's me, I've gone through a lot of stuff. I have been prepared for where we're at now. I have been beaten with a mallet, been soaked and prepared, just like each one of you. That's what we go through each and every day. Each and every day we have that opportunity to do something unique and something different. My life's Bible verse is found in the Old Testament in the book of Lamentations. Now that's a book that probably nobody hardly ever reads because it's a real obscure book. It's not one of the more popular books, but there's 2 verses in there that really highlight what I think we should do each and every day. It's Lamentations 3:22 and 23. It says, "The faithful love of the Lord never ends. His mercies never cease. Great is his faithfulness. His mercies begin afresh each morning." And you see, his mercies, we can become and start afresh each and every day. We have that opportunity. When our feet hit the floor coming out of bed, we have that opportunity to start afresh each and every day, whatever it is we do. Whatever happened the day before, whatever happened, whether we were beat with a mallet or prepared for something else, we have that ability to start afresh each and every day. So if you're a Team Horner employee, take that opportunity each and every day. Start afresh. You have a wonderful opportunity. You work for a very special company here, a very special company. You have mentorship in Bill, in Mike, in Gary, Darren. You can learn from them. They're great mentors. But you can begin afresh each and every day. It doesn't matter what happened yesterday. It doesn't matter what happened to you. We can start over. And that's the opportunity that we have. Thank you, Dr. Bill. That seems weird saying that. I don't know. I've never called you Dr. Bill, but Dr. Bill. Thank you, Dr. Bill. Thank you, Mike, for the opportunity to be here today, to be inducted. Some people asked me if I was going to be indicted, but I said, no, inducted. After you listed those qualifications, or Mike did, I said, well, I better leave now because I'm not sure I am. But thank you for this opportunity. And I'll just close with this. Be blessed and bless someone else today. Thank you.
Mr. Burr remembers more of my entrepreneurial sins than I do. Liberator, Cuesta. Where'd you get that tie? I can tell you why I bought them. The guy originally asked $5 a piece for them, and I said, "I'll tell you what, I'll give you $1 a piece." And he said, "Okay." Hey, we bought 400 of them, and we sold 12 of them. What's the big deal? All right, who would like to come up next? Who would like to come up next and provide some thinking about Mr. Burr? Jerry, are you going to come up here? No? Tyler, you're coming up? Oh, hold on. Somebody.
Hello and good afternoon, everybody. I was incredibly honored when Ron my dad asked me to come up here and speak on behalf of his kids, Lauren, Justin, Tiffany. The best way I could explain Ron is this. It's by my first time getting a chance to meet and interact with him, which also just so happened to be Lauren and I's first date. You see, Lauren and I decided to go to the movies, and during that movie, somebody hit Lauren's car, parked in the parking lot, and completely damaged it. And because Lauren was in the movie theater and police could not get in touch with her, they called her dad. So you can imagine the fear and confusion when police come in the middle of the movie theater and grab Lauren and myself and say, "Lauren, your car has been hit. And also, by the way, your father is in the parking lot right now." So Lauren and I walk out in a sense of confusion and me being absolutely mortified as I'm about to meet a girl who I'm dating's father. And I meet Ron, and he does what he does best, which is immediately starts cracking jokes. The problem is I didn't realize if he was joking or not in the interaction of it. Because his version of jokes was to accuse me of somehow, some way, finding somebody to hit Lauren's car while we were on the date so police could come, so he could be there, so that I would have a chance to meet him. And I honestly don't even think I knew Ron's name at that point, because all I kept on saying was "sir," because I was so terrified that he thought that I thought he was being serious at that time. So it was just, "No, sir. No, sir, I did not find someone to hit your daughter's car, sir." Just over and over and over again, I was saying, "No, sir." But the thing is, and this is when I think back to that interaction, he was doing that as a way, and I realized he does this with everybody, that was his chance and his first opportunity to make me feel like part of the family. Even way before he knew what Lauren and I's relationship was and what it was going to become, he immediately started to take me in. And from that moment forward, he went out of his way to reach out and make me feel welcome. We started grabbing lunch together, and he became not just, oh, he's the father of the girl I'm dating, or like my fiance's father. He became a friend, a father figure, a mentor, someone that I just could talk about anything with, whether it be career, life, just trying to figure things out. He was always there, and I know that if I've had that opportunity, I know that every single person here has also had a similar type of interaction. And so with that being said, there's a quote by Bob Marley that says, "Success isn't measured by wealth, but by integrity and by the positive impact one makes on others' lives." And having a chance to have spent so much time over the years and to see him pastor and see him interact, I can say with confidence that if that's the measurement, then Ron is one of the greatest men I've ever had a chance to meet. So with that being said, I just have to say, I can't think of anyone else who deserves an honor such as this. We all love you, we're all proud of you, and congratulations.
Anyone, excuse me, anyone else from the family? No? Justin? No? Okay, Gary.
So you're going to hear a little bit of a common theme of some of the things Ron spoke about, although mine is much more concise. After all, we started 1 month apart in 1978 and worked together for 18 years. And as you know, back then the company was called Horner Equipment. And both of us share that same, we graduated from college and we're looking for work, something to help make ends meet. So Ron started in August of '78. I started in September. But we both replied to the newspaper classified ad, the same one, that said, growing distributor or something along that line, looking for counter help. And like Ron said, we didn't work in the counter. We worked in the warehouse. That was Bill's way of getting people in who would work in this relatively small warehouse and hope that they would stay for long periods of time. And it worked. Obviously, it worked. As they are today, back then, the programs and benefits that we offered were geared towards longevity. Ron stuck around for 18 years. Me, I'm still going, and I'm going to say it, not retired. And guess what the starting pay was back then? $3.25 an hour. Now, I never told Ron this, but I negotiated with Bill and got a little higher pay. Ron was the first friend that I met after moving here, and I'm happy to say that he remains a trusted friend today. Coincidentally, our families lived fairly close together during that first year, and frequently, although it didn't start right away, we would ride together to work since we were pretty close. I drove my 1970-something, I think, maroon Fiat, and when Ron drove, he drove his mean green Torino, I believe. Is that correct? And I'll tell you, if you ever want to get to know someone, just carpool with them. As the years went by, our wives got to know each other. Our eventual children were fairly close in age. And we would get together periodically for some backyard swimming pool fun. Karen and I didn't have a pool. As a matter of fact, we didn't have a pool for probably another at least 10 years. So we went to the Burr's house and enjoyed that fun. I'm not sure if Lauren and Justin remember any of that, but that goes back quite a time. Many years into Ron's 18-year career, he was part of something we called the Old Guard. The Old Guard included Dan Lockwood, Ron Burr, and myself. We were, at one point, the tenured employees. Aside from Bill, we were the go-to people for, at that time, again, was a very small company. Even with our differences, we functioned together well, and we made it happen. However, the Old Guard worked with things that we now consider old-fashioned. These were the days of no forklifts or computers. Hand carts, manual labor, and handwritten ledger cards were in. And we didn't even have traditional ladders. What we had was Ron, the human ladder. We just say, hey, Ron, can you get that for us? What was also in were clipboards. When Ron became Horner Equipment's sole buyer, his tools were a clipboard, a pen, and something we still use today, a backorder log. With a clipboard at hand and a superb knowledge of our products and a visual inspection of the inventory and a little shake of the bin, and the clipboard just resting right here. He has a permanent mark in his belly here from that clipboard. That was all we needed to make sure that we had the products our customers expected. Slow to adapt to new technology. Seems like yesterday I remember trying to convince Ron from switching from his flip phone to a smartphone. It took quite a while, but it eventually happened. However, even today, his preferred method of calendar, appointments, and reminders are Post-it notes. It works. After his 18 years, this was back in 1996, with Team Horner, Ron went out on his own, but we remained friends. He tried a few things on his own, worked for some longtime customers, and he, as he mentioned, even a competitor. Eventually, he and his son, Justin, started their own construction business, a successful business, and they remain customers today. Most notably about Ron is he is a man of God's word. He has always been involved with music ministry. However, during the past 10 years, he has followed his calling of becoming an associate pastor. His devotion to God's work is also evident in his live weekly radio ministry and weekly convalescent ministry visitations. And for that, I simply applaud you. I also applaud you for becoming a member of the Team Horner Hall of Fame, reserved for special people with special contributions. Congratulations on your induction into the Hall of Fame. In addition to experiencing being inducted into the Hall of Fame, very soon, as Ron mentioned, he will experience becoming a grandpa for the first time. Congratulations to you, Jerry, Justin, soon-to-be mom, Tiffany, Lauren, and Tyler. As special as it is today, special will be taken to a different level in the not-too-distant future. Congratulations, Ryan.
Okay, who else would like to come up? Come on up. Just so you know, this is informal. What happened? Please come up whenever it's your turn, whenever you feel the mood, and say what you'd like to say.
Hi, my name is Ken Kerrigan, and I am senior pastor at Calvary Chapel, Cornerstone Church, and I am absolutely amazed with this. I've never seen an organization do what they're doing here. Coming from a government and law enforcement background, you don't see anything like this, so thumbs up. Good job. It's great to see that someone comes out of the workplace with the reputation, honesty, integrity, loyalty. And one of the words that, and I'll be brief, one of the words that I'm really hanging on to as we go forward is, that'll work. The word sincerity comes to mind. And a picture of a true man of God, but a true man of integrity is Ron. And we can all learn and emulate from him. And I want to thank you for recognizing him today. I can't wait to get the church to tell everybody about this because this is amazing. Ron is a good man, and he's not two-faced. This is the real deal. That's where sincerity comes in. He's the same person whether he's in the secular world or in the church. And he cares about people. He cared about you while he worked here, and he didn't retire. He's not only doing a pool business, but he's serving the Lord in the church. And how do we serve the Lord? Well, it's by loving on other people. And that's Pastor Ron. Thank you.
Thank you, Pastor Ken. Who's next? Come on up, Danny.
Congratulations, Ron. It's wonderful seeing your family. But I'm confused. Where is the real Ron Burr? He said more words today in 20 minutes than I heard in 20 years. I'm like, who the hell is that? But you said some things that made me cry. And that's a wonderful thing for me. And we've remained in contact and friendship many years after we left the Blue and Orange. And somebody brought up the wolf sandwich. Okay. Bill was generous enough. I don't know if he knew at the time, but he bought us lunch every day. But we didn't take lunch. We wolfed down the sandwiches as fast as you could without choking so we can continue to work. So, wolf sandwich. But I have a lot of stories about Ron. One, he was the tallest employee that we ever had at that time. And he was the center on the Team Horner basketball team. Oh, that's a story for another day. He went on vacation occasionally, and I would fill in for him on purchasing. And as many of you know, Ron was what we might call conservative. He liked the inventory turns to make Bill happy. So I'm out there with the clipboard, shaking the bin, and I'll tell one story. For some of us who've been around a long time, there's a thing called the blue-white feeder, and they had poppets. And I believe the poppets cost 15 cents each. Now, I looked at Ron's previous orders of 100. I said, geez, that's only $15. So I ordered 500. He came back and said, what the hell did you do? So, well, okay, you said, you made a mistake. But Ron got to be the purchasing agent and our representative to the vendors. I don't see many vendors out there anymore, but they would go in and visit with Ron and then crawl down to my office and said, man, doesn't that guy ever smile? But if we had more people like Ron, the world would be a better place. And I think of him often as I drive by his place. And congratulations, as Gary said. We were very blessed. And most of us who came to work in the 70s were lied to by Bill as a counter guy, but whatever. But I will say this, Ron, if you get to come back here and do this speech after my induction, which I never thought would happen, God works in miracles ways. My 5-year-old granddaughter came up to me and she said, Papa. I said, what, honey? She said, why are they calling you Danny? Don't they know your name is Papa?
I've got to defend myself. Why would you run an ad for warehouse people when you can run an ad for counter people and get a higher quality draw? You eventually became a counter person, did you not? You never worked on the counter? Then I did lie to you. Who's next? Who would like to come up? Please. Somebody, come on. Rod. Larry. Mr. Litwin.
Jump up for this mic. I was the Hayward sales rep for 24 years when I was in the pool business. Horner was calls I made was here, and I went in and saw Danny, and of course I talked to Danny in the language that Danny uses, and we used a few choice curse words, if you will. And I didn't know Ron at the time, But I went into his office and I was talking to him like I was talking to Danny, and he said to me, if you're going to talk like that, you could turn around, leave, and never come back. So I learned. But since then, I've come to know Ron in a professional sense here, also in a Christian sense in church, and also as a friend. So I just want to say congratulations. I'm happy to be here, and I guess congratulations is all it takes. Thanks.
Okay, who's next? Somebody, come on up.
Okay, so it's amazing how you guys are from 78 and my first time was in 88. And I felt like the 10 years prior were 100 years before I ever joined the pool business. But my first memory of Ron is Gary and Ron standing in the hallway using the word egg before every word. So they were exponentially interested in what they were talking about, and they were going back and forth competing on how they could find another word that started with egg. Well, one thing's for sure, he's never going to use the word egg's wife. That's a good thing. Happy to hear that. Happy to know that. But anyway, so Ron, I definitely sort of followed all the years that you guys are talking about. I've been around on the outside, and I've watched you go from Horner to purchaser. By the way, how often can you spend your life just buying things? That's your whole life, you've just been buying things. Hey, that's pretty good. It's a pretty rich guy, you know, buying pretty expensive stuff. Yeah, yeah. So, anyway, definitely, Ron is definitely one of the most reliable, honorable people that I've dealt with. I deal with a lot of people in the pool industry, and I'm very pleased every time I go to his job. All the customers are very happy to have him as a builder, and I'm very happy to be working for him as a builder. I know he's got our back. I know he's got the customers' back. And what I don't understand is he stands behind every pool he builds, and I don't know why he hasn't been arrested for, like, peeping Tom or whatever, but, you know, just kidding. He does stand behind his product. He's a very unusual person in 2022 to be a man of his word and to back his product, and I'm proud to work with him, and I'm proud to be here for this event. And congratulations. Take care.
Okay, who's next? Board of Rules and Appeals?
I don't do a lot of public speaking, but it really is an honor to be here as part of this celebration. And I thought of a story about Ron that we have this newsletter that we put out to our board members and, you know, building officials, so on. But somewhere along the line, I just realized that Ron was the kind of guy that I only asked 3 board members to respond to the newsletter to make it better before it goes out, because I always look to try and make things a little bit better. And it just goes to his character. He's the type of person that he always calls up to compliment on the final product. And I know of nobody that does that well.
Other people, there are others. They're out of the three. There are the comments, but Ron always praises the staff and says good things about people, and takes the time to let us know and say to, if it happens to be Brianna, who's the main person that coordinates the newsletter, or whomever, good job. And that means a lot, and it says a lot about the character. So it really is a pleasure to be here and to congratulate you on your history and to learn so much about it. Thank you.
So Bobby, Bobby, are you coming up? No? Bob Bennix, no? You gotta come up?
I gotta lower this down. Everybody up in front of me's been. That's good. When I was invited to come to this, I was excited to be with people that I've been through many years. And when I got here, I've seen a bunch of them, and we're all. It's beautiful. It's beautiful to have a team like this. Bill has created a fantastic group, and Ron and Ron has been a true friend. I'll tell you, over the years. When I first met Ron, when he was working for the tile company, he was at a point in life where he wanted to do something different, and we got together, and I learned an awful lot from Ron, and I hope he learned a little bit from me. And this family is it's a family you can dream about. They're beautiful. Justin is unbelievable. Anybody that's met Justin knows that his dad and him are identically. First off, I'd like to thank you for this invitation to be here and congratulate you. You deserve every opportunity to be a success that you are. Thank you very much.
Who's next? Yes. Tiffany.
Hello. So I will also start with the first time that I met Ron. So I started dating Justin, and I knew by the second date that we were going to get married. It took him a little bit longer to get on board with that. But I feel like it was a couple of months before we met his parents, and I'm like, ooh, maybe he doesn't want to introduce me, or I don't know. But I think more like he was just worried about introducing his dad. So, he wanted to just really make sure this was a solid thing. And so we went to a restaurant called Gianni's for his birthday. And I kind of got a sense of, okay, this is going to be interesting. When Justin leaned over and whispered to him, "Be nice." And I think it took him all of 5 minutes to feel comfortable before he started razzing on me. And then I knew, okay, I like this guy. I do. And just like Tyler said, I echo that. He just makes you feel like a part of the family almost immediately. Like he puts you at ease. Every Sunday morning, he comes into service and has a joke ready because he wants to make people laugh. He wants to bring them joy. So it's just a privilege to be a part of this family and to just, honor him in all of the work that he's done. And just most importantly, just the integrity that he has, his love for the Lord, that it's a real thing and that he seeks to honor him in all that he does. And just want to thank you guys for coming out and honoring him today. And what an incredible legacy that'll be here that even our children could come and see. So love you, Dad.
So who's next? Chris, you going to talk? No? Roger, you going to talk? Nito, you want to say something? Of course you do.
I've known Ron and Bill going back to close to the beginning, back in '78. And I remember going to the little warehouse, and I had sold a spa through this builder whom Bill remembers, and he couldn't get it. So, and I'm not going to go into why he couldn't get it, but I drove down to the little warehouse and I spoke to Bill and I think Ron also. And I says, will you send me this Hydro K spa so that, I've sold it and I got a nice commission coming to it. My boss can't get it. And they went ahead and, and agreed that they would sell it to me. And that, believe it or not, propelled me to become a pool contractor without ever even wanting to become a pool contractor. And the story would be too long to go through it. And then one more side note about my good friend Ron, and he is indeed the loyal and good friend that everyone would like to have. But we had a little run-in one time, if we want to call it that. And of course, I was looking for this Raypak electric heater for a job that I was doing, or a project I was doing up in Frenchman's Creek, and we were stationed in Boca, and it's a long ride to go to Frenchman's Creek. So Ron says, we don't have it. I said, what you mean you don't have it? He said, we don't have it. And of course, following through on Bill's motto that you take care of the customer no matter what, he talked me into this other make. And I said, Ron, this better be good because you'll hear about it. So went ahead and installed it, and wouldn't you know it, 3 months after we installed it, lo and behold, the customer calls, the heater doesn't work. I drove all the way up to Frenchman's Creek, cut the heater loose, drove all the way down. At the time, there was this warehouse here, and Ron was not in. So I took the heater and put it on his desk. And he did not need to ask anybody where this heater came from. He immediately called me, and the rest is history. Ron, you are a true friend. You deserve everything that you're getting, and your wonderful family, whom I know that I met Jerry a while ago, and you are a great family, and God bless you, and thank you very much for inviting me.
Okay, who's next? Are we done? You sure nobody else wants to talk? No? Then Mike, let's come on up, Ron, and we'll...